Fellas, Ilia Topuria is the new featherweight champion of the world. I'm going to be breaking down what just happened at UFC 298. I'll be breaking down every fight on the main card, talking about my predictions, and I'll also include the chosen prelim, which I chose. Starting off, we'll just go over it quickly. The chosen prelim, Woodburn versus Elliot. I predicted that Elliot was going to win by decision, and he did. Woodburn did this weird thing, it wasn't a weird thing, but every single time Elliot would catch Woodburn would somehow catch Elliot back, but I just don't think Woodburn's UFC worthy. He doesn't seem to be he just doesn't seem to be UFC level. I'm pretty sure they only brought him in as a replacement for Bo Nickel. Elliot, that was a decent win. I knew he was going to win by decision because the skill gap wasn't too far apart, and he was able to out-grapple, Woodburn pretty easily, so fair play to Elliot. First fight on the main card, Roman Kopylov versus Anthony Hernandez. I'm going to be honest, my predictions today were ass. Usually I get pretty decent predictions. My predictions today were ass. I thought Roman Kopylov was going to be able to get the knockout in the first round. He looked pretty good on the feet, but Anthony, why did I just call him Alexander Hernandez? Ignore that typo, Anthony Hernandez. But no, Anthony Hernandez, he's a submission wizard. This guy is a wizard when it comes to grappling. I can't wait to see him climb the middleweight division. There's so many prospects and contenders in the middleweight division, and now that we've got Anthony Hernandez, it's just making the division better. He's so good on so good when it comes to grappling, his submissions, his wrestling, everything about it, and even on the feet, he's slowly becoming such a well-rounded fighter on the feet. So fair play to Anthony Hernandez for beating Roman Kopylov. I don't think it's over for Roman Kopylov. Do I think Roman Kopylov's going to become a champion? Do I think he's going to get a title shot? No, I don't. He does need to improve his grappling and his takedown defense, but good win for Anthony Hernandez. Yeah, fair play to him. I think Roman Kopylov should have capitalized on the chances that he had against unbeaten Anthony Hernandez. When Hernandez came in, that's where Roman Kopylov should have gone for the strikes, but rather he just let him back him up and then obviously shoot for the takedown when he was doing that. So good win for Hernandez. I can't wait to see what he does next, and I can't wait to see who he gets matched up against. Next fight, Moraga and Henry Cejudo. Again, another prediction I got him correct. I thought Henry Cejudo would be skilled enough to beat Moraga, but obviously not. Moraga, he looked great. I mean, in the first round, Cejudo was looking good. He was beating him in the grappling. He was beating him on the feet. But Moraga is a crazy motherfucker. This guy, when he picked up Henry Cejudo and took him to Mark Zuckerberg, and he was just watching him, and then when he had him, and then when he's like on the back staring at Mark Zuckerberg, Moraga is crazy. This guy is a crazy motherfucker. And let me just say this, Moraga is going to beat Sean O'Malley. He is going to be a future champion of the bantamweight division. They're going to do Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera for $2.99. I don't care who wins because the winner isn't beating Moraga. And people like to compare the fact that Sean O'Malley knocked out Aljo, so that means he's going to knock out Moraga. And maybe he does knock out Moraga, but they're completely different fighters. Morab's pace, Morab's pressure, Morab's cardio, everything about Moraga is different to Aljamain Sterling. He just did that to Henry Cejudo. He just did that to a guy like Cejudo. Was it as dominant as the Yan fight? No, it wasn't. It was fairly close. I gave 2 rounds to Moraga. I gave round 2 and 3 to Moraga, round 1 to Cejudo. So was it as close as was it as competitive? What am I saying? Was it as dominating as the Yan fight? No, it wasn't. But Moraga looked insane, and he's a future bantamweight champion. He's going to be the bantamweight champion. I think he deserves the next title shot. I know there's Sandhagen as well, but he's injured, and he's coming off a win over Rob Font. I still think if Sandhagen wants a shot, he either has to wait now or he needs to beat another contender. So Moraga, give him a title shot after Marlon Vera. But yeah, Moraga's absolutely insane, and Henry Cejudo, hang up the gloves. He's done. Henry Cejudo's finished. He needs to retire. But yeah, pretty decent fight. Moraga's pace is unstoppable. Next fight, Ian Garry versus Jeff Neal. I thought Ian Garry was going to get a decision win, and he did. This one was one of the better predictions. I knew it was going to be competitive, but Ian Garry would just about get the win, and that's exactly what he did. It wasn't the most interesting fight. I'm going to be honest with you. It wasn't the most interesting fight out of all the fights we've watched. Ian Garry looked all right in the fight. He looked all right. He was piecing up Jeff Neal with the kicks. The kicks was really what separated him and Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal came in every now and then with a flurry of punches and a use of boxing, which definitely, edged him. Well, definitely, I keep saying edged. Definitely gave him the upper hand when, in those exchanges. But overall, Ian Garry was the more active guy on the feet. I believe I gave Ian Garry the first round and the third round, and I think I gave Jeff Neal the second round, even though you look at the total strikes and it kind of says otherwise. But no, good win for Ian Garry. Still absolutely hated by the crowd, and I can't wait to see Ian Garry climb the rankings. I'm not sure who's next. He called out Colby Covington, and I think that could be a fairly big fight. So good win for Ian Garry. In terms of Jeff Neal, he's not finished. Like I said, it was a very, very, very close fight. I think it was a split decision win to Ian Garry. So it wasn't like he got absolutely dominated. But again, I've said this before. I said this in the prediction. Jeff Neal can't compete at an elite level. He lost to Neil Magny, Wonderboy, Ian Garry, Shavkat. There's a lot of fights left for Jeff Neal, but I just don't think he's an elite fighter. I think he's got boxing, and that's all he's got. He was applying good pressure to Garry, but you take away the boxing and there's not much left for Jeff Neal. So, good win for Ian Garry. Still hated by the fans, and I want to see what he does next. Next fight, this was a great fight. Robert Whitaker versus Paulo Costa. Yeah, I knew that Whitaker was going to get a decision over Costa. Although I will say, before I compliment Whitaker, Costa looked great in this fight. Like, Costa looked really good. This is the best Paulo Costa we've ever seen. Like, he looked much more sharper. He looked much more in it. And one thing I will say as well, Costa's got an underrated chin. The amount of times that Whitaker came in landing combinations on Paulo Costa, and Costa just shook it off like it was nothing. Costa's got an underrated chin, man. Costa's genuinely got an underrated chin. I know I'm not saying that Whitaker's, this insanely hard hitter, but the amount of shots he took didn't even get wobbled. And obviously, that first round against Costa, where Whitaker got saved by the bell, when he hits him with a roundhouse kick to the face, wobbles Robert Whitaker, and if the bell wouldn't have gone off then, if the round wouldn't have ended, I'm 99% sure he would have gone out there and finished Robert Whitaker. But good win for Whitaker. He's still about... Like I said, was quite competitive. It wasn't a complete shutdown. He said all week that he's going to go out there and absolutely starch. Starch Paulo Costa, which just isn't what happened. But good win for Whitaker. Can't wait to see what he does next, and I think if he gets one more win, he's definitely back in there for the title picture and, fighting for the middleweight belt. So, good win for Whitaker, fun fight overall, and I can't wait to see what's next. And now the big fight that everyone's talking about, one of the most shocking things I've just said, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria just knocked out Alexander Volkanovski out cold, by the way. That was more brutal than the Islam Makhachev fight. Out cold in the second round. I knew it was coming. When I was watching the first fight, Volkanovski was doing well with his kicks, but every single time he was on the back foot, he wasn't defending. And Ilia was getting closer and closer to landing, and I knew that the more Volkanovski ends up on the back foot, the more chances of getting knocked out. He was doing well with the leg kicks, and so was Topuria. And then he goes in there in the second round, puts Volkanovski on the back foot, gets him against the cage, and lands the big shot that puts Volkanovski down, and he puts him out cold. Yeah. Fair play to Ilia Topuria, undefeated, never lost a fight, extremely well-rounded, and he's the new featherweight champion of the world. I can't believe people were once matching this guy up against Paddy Pimblett. Imagine they booked that fight. That would have been a murder in the octagon. But anyway, Ilia Topuria, great fighter, super well-rounded, and he deserves the win. Listen, a lot of people were doubting him because it's Volkanovski, and to be honest, you can't really blame him because it's Volkanovski at the end of the day. But massive, massive win for Ilia Topuria. And in terms of Volkanovski, I'm not sure what's next for him. I do want to give him an immediate rematch because of the legacy he's got at featherweight, but it wasn't the smart decision to return in February after he just got knocked out cold in March. I never thought I'd say this, but Volkanovski is now on a 2-fight losing streak by knockout. It's not even like he got a close fight. He's now lost 3 out of his last 4 fights, and the only win that he's got recently is Yair Rodriguez last year. It's not good for Volkanovski and Volkanovski fans. I don't think he's completely done. I don't think he's a Tony Ferguson. He did look pretty sharp in there against Topuria. Like I said, he was beating up Topuria's leg, but I'm not sure what's next for Volkanovski. I'm going to be completely honest with you now. I don't know if he stays around. I don't know if he retires. Obviously, the Evloev fight's off the line now. It's a depressing day for MMA fans. If you're an MMA fan, you're a Volkanovski fan, that was extremely depressing. Having to see Volkanovski go out there and get knocked out cold by Ilia Topuria. But Topuria's the featherweight king. I think he should definitely be higher up in the pound-for-pound rankings now. One of the best fighters in the UFC. And maybe Volkanovski can, maybe beat him in the rematch, but Topuria is an absolute beast. And even if they do Topuria versus Max Holloway, I still think that's a dangerous fight for Holloway, and I think Topuria has what it takes to beat Holloway. So yeah, this card was crazy. Some fights that were absolute wars, like Whitaker versus Costa. We had some fights that were, quite close in, obviously, Volkanovski and Topuria. But overall, that was 298. Crazy card, and we have a new featherweight champion. Thank you for watching.